Okay,
All
great.
right.
Call the meeting
So
to
Ethel,
order.
you wanted to call the meeting?
Yep, I'm calling to order. And I don't think we need introductions. I think everybody's met everybody.
We've got some new interns joining
Yeah.
us who haven't gotten to meet
Okay, you
everybody
want to
today.
introduce the interns then before we get moving here?
Yeah, I'd love to. What I'll do is I'll call on everybody's Zoom square and folks can introduce themselves. So I will start. I am Katie Bell, Youth Services Supervisor for the town of Mansfield, she, her, hers. And then Pat, I'll throw it to you.
I'm Pat Schneider. I'm the Director of Human Services for the town. So I oversee youth services, social services, and senior services.
All right. And then Ethel, you're
Oh.
up.
Yeah, I'm Ethel Manzares, and I am chair of the advisory board and I'm a community member.
Ethel
And
also
Larry.
chairs the Human Service Advisory
Yeah.
as well.
I do, yeah.
Hi, Larry Barlow, Assistant Principal at Mansfield Middle School.
And then Mackenzie, you are up next on my screen.
You're
Hello,
muted.
I am a social work intern at Youth Services from Eastern.
Welcome.
Sarah.
All right, Sarah, your turn.
It's me, Sarah Dufresne, Early Childhood Services here in Youth Services, community member, parent that gets to deal with Larry, all the good things.
Okay, good. So Danielle, you want to introduce yourself and your intern?
Sure. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be here. My name is Danielle Anapolini. I'm one of the social workers here at Youth Services. And hi, I'm Ellie. I'm Danielle's intern. I'm a second-year grad student at UConn.
Oh, nice. Welcome.
Thank you.
Deborah?
Deborah, I have you up next.
Hi, Deborah Hultgren. I'm also on the Region 19 Board of Ed and a long-term community member.
Nice.
And officially appointed.
Officially.
Finally have
All right,
all
great.
of our T's and I's
Well, welcome
checked.
officially
Got it.
then.
Happy to be here.
Henry?
I'm Henry Christensen. I'm the youth part of the Youth Services Advisory Board. I'm a student at E.O. Smith.
Okay, great. All right, have you all had a chance to look at the minutes? Are they, are there any additions or deletions or changes you want to make, or? I didn't see anything that was wrong. What about the rest of you, like Larry, Deborah?
Look good to me.
Yeah, okay. Can I have a motion? We accept the minutes then?
Yep, motion to accept the minutes from last month's meeting, the November meeting.
Okay, can I have a second on that?
Second.
Oh, thanks, Deborah. All right, moving on to reports. All right, Katie, you're up first.
I'm up. So I actually sent y'all the report earlier than usual. And one of the most exciting things that since I sent out the report, we have heard back on the grant funding that we applied for through the Community Foundation of Northeastern Connecticut. And we were officially awarded our $1,500 that we applied for towards the 2022 Pride celebration for the town of Mansfield as part of our efforts for suicide prevention in our youth and other community members. So we're really excited about that. And then the other big updates are we have finished our mentoring programs for the semester, and the kids have just had a blast, and our staff has worked very hard to overcome some of the challenges of the mentoring programs this semester. And we are excited to have had a good goodbye with all of those groups of folks and are looking forward to the spring semester as it comes and kind of trying to figure out what we can learn from the first semester to make it a little bit easier on ourselves in the second semester, knowing that we really did struggle to keep our volunteers coming consistently for, their safety precautionary reasons, but also just finding a harder time keeping our volunteers consistent with all the things that they have kind of going on in their own worlds right now. So we're kind of looking to see what we can do to help make it easier for the coming semester when we'll flip-flop the grades that we've been working with for the COPE program. And then our Big Friends program will continue at the middle school with our same crew of kiddos, and we're crossing our fingers to get some good returners from our volunteers, but know that we'll be back in the recruitment process once UConn returns from their winter break. My Voice and My Pride are still going. We are working hard on getting our kids ready to come up with their plan to record their public service announcement with My Voice. And we will be going into the part of the calendar where we're meeting more frequently. So we're excited for that in the new year. My Pride, we've got lots of kids coming and joining, and they're kind of coming in and out depending on the quarter rotations, and we're happy to have that flexibility with them. I think at this point we've had like 20 different students participating in this first part of the year in different parts of the quarter depending on what they're signed up for. So that's certainly been a big jump in our enrollment from last year when we were virtual, and even the before times of when we were kind of just getting started. So that's been really exciting. Kelly wrapped up the My Friendship Club that she was running over at Southeast with the friendship skills group for kiddos there. And she'll be looking to kind of figure out where she might run that group again, what group of folks we're looking for. And then I'm excited that Mackenzie's here because she can maybe talk a little bit about the mother-daughter circle because she has been co-facilitating that with Kelly, and that's been an exciting piece going on. So Mackenzie, if you would like to share about that, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah. So we originally had 4 pairs of mother and daughters. Unfortunately, one mother and daughter pair did have to no longer come because of a work schedule. Otherwise, we've had the other 3 families consistently come. This Thursday is our 4th week together of 8 weeks, and it's been going pretty well. The girls seem to enjoy it.
That's been an exciting new program to add to the mix this year. Mackenzie and Kelly participated in the training with the One Circle Foundation in September when Mackenzie was getting started with us through some extra funding that Kelly actually got through a scholarship from the One Circle Foundation. So that's been an exciting thing to have our crew starting to train on, and another option to offer the community. And then Sarah's been still keeping up with the Out of the Blue group, and that I know has continued to take off in a virtual format and been exciting.
Excuse me, I have a question about the mother-daughter group. How did you advertise for it? How did you recruit your families?
So we did a lot of recruitment through our social media, through our web pages, through reaching out to kids that were already enrolled in some of our mentoring programs and our groups, as well as kind of looking at who we might know that we're connected with for kind of our individual counseling or past counseling or cases for families that have middle school aged kiddos who would be female aligned, who would be interested in participating. And then we also did share with the school counselors at the middle school that we were running the group if they had anybody in mind that they wanted to kind of connect.
When you recruited your families, what did you tell them the purpose of the group was? For instance, if I had a daughter, how would I know what you were doing? Did you tell that in the
Sure, I can.
paper?
Yeah, I can actually, what I'll do is I'll pull up the webpage where we have the flyer, and I can put it right into the chat and folks can look at it. And it's really designed to be a relationship strengthener group and activity. So it's not like you're coming here because there's something wrong. It's you're coming here because you want to help grow your relationship mother-daughter during a really challenging time of adolescence. And like, what are the communication skills that you can do to do that together? What are the, different things that you guys are both going through as, women, young women, female aligned persons in the world, and kind of what are you jointly facing that maybe, a dad or a brother isn't facing, and kind of ways to come together and build that. So I'm gonna pull up that piece that we did advertise on our flyer, and then the webpage has the flyer in it. I just have to get over to chat. There it is. Perfect.
In the future,
and Mackenzie, is there anything I missed in that?
No, in the future,
You wrapped it up well.
when you start new groups, Katie, could you send the members of the committee the flyer just so we know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I might have sent it earlier in the year, but I know I can keep highlighting it.
Yeah, that'd be great, because we may know somebody that could use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is one that we kind of Kelly had run before and had a real passion for. And, you know, we wanted to see if it's something that the community was really going to get behind. And, you know, the folks who've been going are really excited about it. So we're hoping with those trainings that she's had, that it's something that can run, you know, more than just the one time. And we'll kind of keep getting a sense for who's looking for it and if we have enough folks to run it again and when that'll be and what that all looks like.
Okay, thank you.
And then I'm just going back to our report. Danielle and Ellie, since we have you guys here as well, is there anything that you wanted to say about mentoring programs? Or I know Ellie and Mackenzie are also the ones who are coordinating the X-Block check-in groups. So I'm excited to have them here to be able to speak directly to that work.
Sure, I can briefly just comment on the mentoring programs. I think Katie identified our biggest challenge this semester, and knowing that we were in this rebuilding phase with our mentors, and also kind of bringing back in-person programming with our kids in a different format. So we did, I think, an exceptional job given all of the barriers and challenges that we face. And I don't think the kids knew, which was always my goal, of kind of some of the behind the scenes challenges and dysfunction that had occurred this semester more than in previous semesters. I think moving Big Friends to the middle school was a great move and seemed to make the program more accessible, which was my goal. And we were able to do so many different things being in that space and not kind of entrenching on council chambers and some of the different meetings that tend to happen here after hours. So I think that was super positive.
Yeah. Can I just jump in real quick? I want to thank you for moving several programs to the middle school and aligning them to our after school programming and being a part of that community. So I think it's a benefit to the kids of Mansfield Middle School, and it gets, it might increase over time enrollment in such programs, offering opportunities to a different body of kids too. So thank you, not just for this program, shifting and navigating to the middle school, but several of the programs. So appreciate it.
We're happy to be welcomed and glad that partnership continues to grow and we're able to meet the needs of the kids. And that after school transportation is like the biggest benefit because that was one of the biggest issues when we were having it at town hall was getting folks here and home. So that's a huge selling point too.
Yeah. And for those that don't, I was going to say, for those that don't understand, we have at the middle school, we have a pretty robust after school program. Typically each quarter there's about 20 clubs students can choose from. And we run clubs Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays after school, and some Wednesdays, just based when we have faculty meetings. We also have the ability to have late buses. We have 6 buses that service our whole school for after school programming that go to 6 different areas of town. And so anyone that stays after school can get transportation home via the late bus runs. So that acts as a support to families and students and enabling them to stay after school until when our programs conclude at 4:10. So just to have that background.
Great.
Yeah, I don't know if either Mackenzie or Ellie want to comment on the X-Block 5th grade groups, but I can certainly pass the baton.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about it. So it's definitely stabilizing since the beginning of the year. We had a lot of kids kind of coming and going, not really consistently, but now we have like our core group of kids that seem to really enjoy it, seem to have fun, making a lot of good connections with each other. So yeah, it's going great, I think.
Good.
That's all from my office.
All right, and then I will pass it to Sarah. I know she started before we started recording, but to give updates on where we are at with restorative justice youth diversion and kind of where things are going and the excitement that we all have for that.
Yes, I kind of did give you guys an update, but I can give an official update because now that we are officially called to order. So everything is looking really good to move forward. I did mention that we are meeting with the other 2 towns this Friday. So it will be the directors of the other Human Services for Ashford and Willington. Kelly McKenney, who is the case manager here in Mansfield, will be there. Katie will be there. And we're just going to fine tune our paperwork and then what our actual referral procedure will look like, because I think that that's going to be the kind of biggest nut and bolt to figure out in all of this. And we're hoping to have just kind of all of that streamlined and finalized so that we can get that to the powers that play, and then we can just move forward with accepting these referrals. We'll be ready, fingers crossed. I'm saying we're going to be ready. We're not going to put it off anymore, but we will be ready in February to start taking cases. We are going to be meeting on the second Thursdays of the month. We also made it so, and we're letting any of our board members know that if we get more cases than we are anticipating, or that the time allows, that we will have some flexibility to add that fourth Thursday if we need to. As of right now, it doesn't look like we'll need to. If you look at what the schools have, would have had for referrals and what the police have, the one Thursday does look like it will accommodate the referrals that we get, but it's hard to say. We haven't had a JRB, so you can't judge what will come our way, but we're pretty confident moving forward. We have a pretty great board composed so far of who will be on it. And we're really looking forward to get started. I'm really excited just delving into this whole idea of restorative justice. And another big thing we're going to do on Friday is hopefully think of a name for our JRB so that we don't keep calling it the JRB. So it'll actually have a name and be organic and can grow from the roots and the ground up.
How much
I will
time?
say my experience with JRBs in the past and diversion programs is it will be sporadic, and you may have times, I mean, I'm just thinking prom time, we had just a lot of kids get in trouble around prom. So you could have a time where you have a lot of kids, and then you could have, periods where you don't have anyone. And, it's just the way that it goes. It's probably not a consistent number every month. So,
Yeah.
so it's good
And
that you have
it's
the
working
flexibility
too-
for a second hearing as well. I mean,
Yep.
a second
And the
day.
way it's working too, it's looking really feasible to have a rotating board. We have a lot of people who want to be on the board, so it will make sense that they won't all need to be at the table every time we meet, and we'll still be very effective.
So the work is going to be equally distributed among Mansfield Youth Services and the other towns, right?
So each town will handle their own.
Go ahead, one at a time.
Each town will handle their referral. So if EO Smith does a referral for a Mansfield child, we would case manage that child. If the referrals for a Willington child, then Willington would case manage that. The people on the board would meet depending. So there's some people that would meet every time. I'm kind of the administrator of the board, so I would facilitate the meetings. I'll be at every one of them. And I'm trying to think other people that might be at everyone, but it will ebb and flow. That's another thing that will ebb and flow, but the work behind the actual child will follow the town itself, and they will each have their own case worker.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm sorry, Katie, go ahead.
Oh, Sarah hit it all.
Okay, great. Anything else you want to touch in your report now?
I think that about covers it.
Okay, good, thanks. Kat, you want to talk about human services?
Sure. A couple of things that, would be of interest to youth services. First, our holiday program has been, basically pretty much distributed, although we always get some, we also always have resources available for last minute. Again, this year we're doing it, under COVID protocols. We're not doing the Adopt a Family program at all. Basically, we're doing gift certificates. So to allow families also choice and to be able to pick up that special thing or things for their family. So that was very successful last year. And, I think donors like to do the Adopt a Family, but I think for families, this is a nice way to honor personal choice as well. So we're doing that. Food insecurity has been a huge thing during COVID and prior to that, but with the cost of living, kind of skyrocketing, as well as I don't know if you guys have been to the supermarket, but there have been a lot of empty shelves and hard to get items, and some of them are kind of strange. You know, my sister couldn't find pectin in order to make jam. You know, so it's caused the, you know, the supply availability. But anyway, so we have continued with our regular programs, but we also have this wonderful program called Helping Hands that we're working in conjunction with our planning department through a very generous CDBG grant. It's also the same one that helps out with childcare. So I know we've been doing a lot to kind of push that out. We currently have 30 households. I think it's about 86 individual, you know, 86 people on the program through 30 households. And the income levels are higher than some of the others. So, you know, again, it's a federal program, so the paperwork is kind of a pain, but you know, what people are getting is really worthwhile. And, you know, we're marketing the program, the information's on the website, but we have another year. Basically, it goes through next December, and we're really hoping to get up to our target was to get to 100 families. And right now we're at 30, so 100 households, and now we're at 30. So we may be opening it up regionally also, just to make sure that we, you know, distribute the money and, you know, not the money, the resources. So just so you know, if you know anybody, it's really pretty easy to prove that COVID has affected you, particularly with the prices that have gone up. You know, everything remaining the same, people are paying an awful lot more money for food right now. They're having to. So anyway, if you have any questions, that's available through our department. You can contact social services or myself, and we can refer you, or you can go right onto the website. It's called Helping Hands. And again, I'm going to be moving into budget time of year.
All right, good. Thanks, Pat. Going to old business. You have sector reports on them.
Hi, Laura.
Hey, hi, Laura.
Sure.
So Katie, you have sector reports on the old
Yes,
business?
I know Lisa let me know that she's having technical difficulties, so she won't be able to log on today. We tried a few different links, so we won't have an update from Favor. I don't know if anybody else on our board has anything that they want to give us updates on and what they've been kind of seeing from youth and families in our community in the past month. Any trends that are helpful for us to be aware of.
Yeah, I don't have a direct update per se, but just last time I spoke about just the increase of student need. That hasn't changed, so that's still a presence. I think if you regionally look and you watch the local news, you see schools are making the news pretty frequently based on some larger behavioral incidents generally at high schools. You know, obviously we're a district, K-8 district, Mansfield, so we don't have those types of behaviors that we're seeing, but you know, generally there are still student needs that are present that we're working to address with students and families, and obviously we lean on our YSB and our other local service providers. So just we're still in that mode of needing to support kids.
Do you have a lot of kids acting out in the middle school, Larry?
Yes. Do we have behaviors that present themselves and you know, just acting out? Just one element. I mean, we have higher needs, and if I look at the number of incidents that I've worked with in my office, I've seen a pretty large increase. If I look at my September to November data from 2 years ago to now, and I'm citing 2 years ago because last year we saw a decrease, and in part we attribute that to we had fewer students in the building. We were operating in a different capacity. Although at this point we had 2 grade levels fully in last year. So, but nonetheless, yeah, I mean, we're seeing an increase of behaviors. You know, double-digit increase.
Wow. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have anything? All right, moving on to the new business, we had the meeting schedule. You all had a chance to look at that. And I need a motion to accept the minute schedule as, the meeting schedule as presented.
I think did we accept that last time?
We did accept that last time.
Okay, yeah, so we should be good.
Well, we did accept it last time.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you have it on
We
the.
voted on that last time. I always do it in November in case we don't have a quorum in December. Because
Okay,
like,
but the only reason I bring it up is because it was under new business, but if it's been taken care of, we're all set. You know, great. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is public comment, but we don't have anybody from the public, so. Is there anything else that anybody wants to talk about or address before we adjourn? If not.
No, the only thing I want to say, and I've said this to Ethel before, is that now as we're moving into the budget, and we also talked about mental health issues Larry has, that if the Youth Service Advisory has any guidance from, to the staff as far as submittals for budget, for whether it's capital or staffing or whatever, now would be the time to let us know.
Yeah, I would, I feel like, and you guys can tell me if this is accurate, you're pretty much at capacity.
Yes.
In terms of social work hours attuned
Yes.
to students. So, I would advocate for increased social worker time. So does that mean it's an additional staffing member or a reallocation? I'm not sure. That's not my decision-making capacity, but just so everyone knows that we have YSB embedded in our building at the middle school, and we're pretty much, I think we're all out of slots for daytime social work in the building. So.
As well as we're out of slots pretty much for the afternoon and late and early evening that we offer. So you're right. And again, the council is aware of the increasing mental health needs. So I now might be the year. I know we got an additional staff member not that long ago, but life is different right now. That's what I would say. And there's definitely needs out there that are not being addressed.
Yeah, I would say there's a need for sure. So
if the council is excited or enthusiastic about the JSRB, you need to point out to them that, based on my past experience with JSRBs, it generates a lot of business sometimes and you need more help.
Right. And again, currently we're not serving the high school population at all. So, and I have said that to them, if this is something they want to see, that's definitely going to require increasing staff.
Deborah?
And
just on that, sorry, on that note, with regard to the high school, I'm still learning about relationships, but it is my understanding that there has not been a whole lot of work with the high school students unless you're already working with their families and younger siblings. And at our board meetings, the question continues to come up to the superintendent and principal: do you have enough resources for the amount of mental health issues you're seeing? And I think the answer to that is no. And I think there's one of the biggest issues is that they may be able to identify what the needs are, but may not be able to get a family to the service somewhere else.
And I think the other thing, and schools are great and they can do an awful lot, but the challenge is if it's not school related, if it's a need that's a whole family versus just the student, if it's going to need capacity to service in the evenings, on weekends, well, we're not doing weekends, but and over the summer, schools are really limited in that. So, that's a model that's a challenge for schools because they kind of have to justify why they're involvement, so if, and I know you probably all know that oftentimes the child may be the identified client, but it's much of their acting out or whatever may be a whole system or family issue, and schools have a bigger challenge. I mean, everybody has a challenge addressing that, but schools have a bigger challenge because who they have access to may not be the person in the family that needs the help.
Yeah, and the other issue for the high school, and this may not be unique to the high school, but is that mental health services in general carry stigma still. And having the service of any kind at the high school where somebody can be identified as seeing the person who deals with mental health is problematic in a high school setting. And even though we're a kinder high school than some, the microaggressions and the other ways of pointing out people's issues still is a huge problem for us, you know.
Right.
And so having services outside of the high school for kids who need
Right.
it is critical.
Well, I think as well, there are, for whatever reason, families and kids that don't want it connected to school.
Yes.
I mean, we hear
precisely.
that a lot. They don't want it connected to school, so they would prefer to see a clinician or attend a group or whatever that's out of the school setting. There's advantages of having programs in school, like Larry talked about, as far as access and transportation and some of that, and sometimes introduction, because that's where people feel comfortable. And then there's advantages to having it out. And, you know, quite frankly, we are one of the only youth service bureaus that do not serve high school students.
Okay, so
in the
that's a
state.
budgetary issue potentially.
It
as
is a
well as
budgetary
procedure.
issue, but it's something that you know, when I first started here, I don't know, 8-9 years ago, I didn't quite understand because I've never worked somewhere where high school students weren't a core part of your youth service bureau, but our direction is really to provide school social work and work with the, you know, the kids up to 8th grade here in the town. And I think they made that decision because the school went regional. And so they assumed resources were going to be different, but there certainly are advantages in this town having the high school be part of our YSB, you know, high school
Agreed.
students.
If memory serves me right, the youth services used to
Yes.
serve as high school.
Yes.
And then the high school decided they wanted their own social worker, so they took a slot from youth services, and the person went over to the high school. So we lost a person. We never recovered, you know, that person. And there is a social worker at the school, right? At the high school. Or I
Two.
assume it was.
Right.
Chuck
right.
was there, but you know, I'm assuming they
Right.
replaced him.
Yes, there's two. There's two social
Right.
workers and a
Okay,
school
good.
psychologist.
Okay, good.
But again, those they're connected to the schools and deal
Right.
with school related issues.
That's
So the challenge is
correct.
there's nobody to deal with the issues that are many that are not necessarily school related issues or,
Right.
you know, or their full family. And that's what a YSB can do, that offers
Right.
services for high school age students and their families, that a school is really going to be challenged to do.
Yeah. Well, they did do that years ago, so.
Right,
Well, so
right.
we'll pretend like we didn't know about that and just add a new
Right.
position. Let's add a new position.
Well,
Yes,
I was going to
exactly.
say, and think about it, there's nobody on staff where I am that, you know, that even remembers that. But Ethel's been around for a long time, so she
so have
remembers
I.
it. And I certainly,
Being old.
heard the stories about it. One way or another, the kids, the high school students are being underserved. That I can say to you. I mean, and I think we'll all agree. We all agree with that. That
Yes.
they're being
Yeah.
underserved.
And the town is short on private therapists.
Yes.
The kids, friends of mine are we're all having trouble finding external private therapists for ourselves and for our kids.
True.
I'm
That's
seeing
very
someone in
true.
Danielson,
Yep.
you know, so, and my kids used to see someone in Danielson. So anything else that we can do with the town would be vital.
Right. Well, again, I think they listen to citizens more than they listen to staff. And, you know, they certainly listen to advisory groups.
Right. Okay.
So I am in agreement with you. Although Katie's going to shake her head because she's thinking, are we going to start sitting on top of each other in the office over here?
So we need advisory board to say youth services needs their own building and 5 more staff.
Yeah.
That's the ask.
Wishful thinking.
Is there a place to
Oh,
build,
and if
Larry,
you can
next
make it a
to?
good one, I will totally take the ropes course. I will absolutely take the ropes course. We will have positive youth development every day.
Well,
Good.
Well-
at some point, those old elementary schools become town property again.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, the challenge with them is they're not on bus lines and they're, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But that's not necessarily unsurmountable. It's
Right.
just another part of the reality. Well, anyway, again, as most of you know, I totally agree we should be serving high school students, and I've always felt that way.
Yeah.
But not with the
Well, then-
same resources we have.
At what point in the budget process would an advisory board member go to council in advocacy?
So what you would do is you could draft a letter saying you support the, and you see the need to expand both expand the service area of Youth Service Bureau to include high school students. And these would be the resources that would be required in order for that to happen.
You can also, when you, as a member of the advisory board, when you see a town council person, you can talk to them.
Right.
know,
Right.
outside of a
But
meeting.
a formal letter from the
Yeah.
advisory group would go a long way. And I
Okay.
could use that for backup and Katie and I can use that for backup for putting in a service improvement. And certainly it would be great to hear from Region 19 and, and any parents of kids in high school that they see this as a need. So we're also the local prevention council, and and to some extent our what we can do with that is limited by the fact that we don't serve high school students. So
So timing is somewhat limited because we're all starting in our budget processes.
yes,
So I would suggest that and I put this to Ethel, but we maybe want a motion to create said letter from this advisory council. But in the meantime, I will volunteer to speak to our current social workers at the high school and the superintendent about the need to identify specifically needs that they're seeing, because this needs to be a collaborative thing, obviously, but
yes,
it can't be done in a vacuum. So, but for us to support the need with a letter that goes out at a timely point, we may need that letter before we meet again. I don't know what the process is, whether January, you have a January meeting, Katie?
yes.
Yeah, I mean, that may be soon enough, but it may not be in terms of getting the data you need to make that letter. So, I mean, is there some motion we could put in play here to support
can
that
ma-
process?
Yeah, you can make a motion and,
right.
that can support that process, and that maybe Katie could provide us with the information that we would need.
Yes.
Well, actually, we could probably get more information from E.O. Smith.
Yes, that's what I'm
Especially
going to
about
do.
that being an
Yeah.
unmet need, as well as from Larry, what you're seeing at the, at the middle school.
Yes.
As far as the increase in mental health needs, as well as acting out, the kind of
Yep.
acting out behavior that you're experiencing there.
Yeah, I mean, I think directly, we have made referrals and you're at capacity, so.
Right.
All right, well,
Okay.
then I would like to make a motion that this advisory council put together a letter of support for the increase in resources or personnel needed to begin to serve the needs of high school age students in our town. And you can put that into any wording you need to, but that would be the motion. And then in the meantime, we can discuss it after somebody seconds it.
Yeah, kind of a second.
Just the further discussion is that we would need to have Katie certainly, and I want to alert Shannon Cartier over at the high school that I did this. And that, and then she could be in a better position to talk to Katie or whoever you designate about what the objective needs are that would validate the request or for the letter that we're going to produce. I mean, it all has to sort of come together and be connected.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would also just say, just even, taking out the high school element, I think there are needs that we can establish, given the structure that there's currently in place and the age groups that are served, there are needs there as well.
Right.
So I think they extend, beyond.
I think, Larry, you'd probably like to see somebody over there
I
every
would like
day.
more time, correct, yeah.
Yeah, you'd probably like to have someone maybe
Yeah.
located in
Yeah.
your,
Right,
In
so
the
so
building.
our letter could support but more
Both. To
needs
both,
in general.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So Katie, do you want to work on that letter? Get the information
My
together?
she
my
can work-
understanding is that it has to come from the board. It can't
Right.
come from.
No, no.
Right.
but
No,
if
no,
you
it would
could-
come from the
So-
board, but
if
getting the
you could-
facts together.
Yeah, if
Right,
you
so
get us
maybe what you could
information-
do is establish a small work group to
Okay.
produce the
Yeah.
the letter. So, and it seems like Deborah and Larry, you guys have a real interest in that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
maybe
I volunteer.
Katie could be in support, work in support of that. Does
We
that
just need the
sound-
facts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
I mean, you can talk about how many kids that you've tried to refer and haven't been able to, and certainly your staff over at Region 19, they'll be able to tell you how much a challenge it has been to find mental health resources that are accessible, as well as the advantage to having services that are available to kind of whole families outside of the school environment. But
I do
really,
just want to make sure that we highlight here in this meeting though, because I don't want anyone to have a misunderstanding.
Right.
If we have a referral for counseling that we can't accommodate in-house, either because of our timing or because we're at capacity, the family needs later hours than we have, the family needs a specialization that we don't necessarily have, we always do our component of being a community hub to connect them to what is going to meet their needs. So even if we're not the answer and,
Right.
we might get the referral, we're connecting with the family and we're helping connect them to what is going to meet the need, even if we're not the right answer for that. Because that's another piece of what YSBs in the state of Connecticut are charged to do.
Right.
So
So
can I
information and
have-
referral and case management it's not, it's not just clinical services. It's a
Right.
big component is that part.
But getting back to the working group, I'll serve on it. Deborah and Larry? do you
Yeah,
want-
I'm happy to contribute and help support a
Yeah.
piece that we can share with a larger audience.
Yeah, and even though this letter is going to come from the advisory council, we want to make sure we get it right, Katie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you at least should make sure that what we're saying is and Katie and Pat, that what we're saying supports what you would need when you go into the budget
Mhm.
process.
Mhm.
Okay.
Without it
Yeah,
looking.
I mean, the
like
part that I
everything.
would be mostly responsible for would be costing it out.
Yes, yeah.
So, and
Would a work group have to be a FOIA noticed meeting or could it be separate?
not if they're working on a short-term, very specific
Yeah.
item. You can work on a letter, you can work on, people have worked on, at your fingertips, putting that together for the senior center, you know what I mean? That's not necessarily FOIA because you're not establishing, the council's not establishing. And again, because this is an advisory, and we're technically, I think, an advisement to the town council and the town manager. It's appointed by the town manager. So, it's a little different than a commission or a group that has voting. I don't know what
Okay.
you'd call it, like your zoning or whatever. That's a little, your zoning board or whatever. So.
Is there anyone else wants to serve on the advisory group there?
I would be happy to, if my perspective would be helpful. I would be happy to participate and lend any experience or wisdom that I could.
If you could give us information, Danielle, that'd be good. But, okay, so if you get all your stuff together, Katie, Pat, and Danielle, and send it to the three of us, then we could start drafting something.
Mhm.
Is
Okay.
there data that you three can think of offhand that is gonna help do that and we can start that process? Or is part of it really kind of needing to generate what data would be supportive to that?
Right, because I think a big part of the data is going to come from the middle school and the high school. I'll
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
honest with you. So
Well, we
that's where
should-
the data would come from.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm gonna need to alert the superintendent that this came up. And then
Right.
get permission to speak with the social worker,
Mhm.
Shannon Cartier, probably, because she's got the most institutional knowledge. And then just the big question is, does this make sense that this advisory council would be looking to youth services to request more help based on what you're seeing at the high school? And
Right.
Larry, you've already validated that for the middle school.
Right.
So it's just bringing that together into a letter of support, really. That's all this is, which I
Right.
presume would have to be approved by this body at the next meeting.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah,
That would be the deadline.
yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, it does. And if we need it sooner, we can always send it out to everybody for their approval.
Right.
So, we don't necessarily have to
Uh,
wait a whole
Well,
month.
there's that
No,
whole
it's gotta
process.
be-
thing.
It's
Oh, you
got to
got
be
it.
done
Okay,
at the,
that's. I keep
Has to be a
forgetting
notice
everything.
meeting.
Yeah,
right. Even if you hold a special meeting
yeah.
to do it, you just need to do the right notice.
Yeah.
Not like
on
the
that.
good old days when you could do whatever you wanted. and That was that.
No, it's.
No, Ethel, no.
We don't want
No,
anybody
it's-
getting in trouble. We don't
No,
care.
Right.
Mary
in the
Ann's ears are ringing.
I was gonna say, in the same sense that Katie and I couldn't write the letter, as you,
Right.
No.
from the, it's,
Well,
we
we'll
have,
write the letter, we'll
we
get
have
it
rules
together.
about that, so.
Yeah, no, we'll write it, but if we get the information, if you send it to three of us,
Mhm.
all the data
Yeah.
that we need to justify. And one of the things I think we'd want to know is how many, have you gotten referrals about high school students that you couldn't address?
Well,
And B,
I
you know,
think
not
the
at all.
challenge is
Yeah, or not, yeah.
we're not getting them because they know we're not
Yeah.
serving them, so
but you,
that data would need to come from
high
the high school.
Yeah,
Because
and
they
we'll-
just
we'll work on
aren't
that.
referring.
Yeah.
and
we'll work
also,
on that.
how many people you've had kids, from the middle school or what have you, referred in the elementary schools that you couldn't deal with because you didn't have enough staff. All your slots were filled, and that would be
Right.
important to know. And then we get that information from Larry and from Danielle and those, you're all that work there. That would be
Right.
good to have. Because
Right.
you can
And
say
quite-
in the letter, the middle
Right.
school referred 100 kids to youth services, but they could only work with 20 because all the slots were filled. We had 80 kids that really need help. So we
Well,
can have
and
that
and quite
information.
frankly, from what Larry was saying, I mean, they would like someone
Oh, yeah,
Monday through Friday in their school building. I
yeah.
mean, am I hearing that correctly,
Yep,
Larry?
Yep, that would work.
That way the kids could see the staff we could
Yeah.
have somebody over there that could see. Right now, I think it's 3 days a week, 4 hours. Is that correct?
It's longer than 4 hours for those 3
Okay.
days a week, but it's 3 days a week. There is a social worker from youth services there. So Danielle's there on Thursdays for that first part of the day. And then Kelly is there on Tuesdays and Fridays.
Okay, yeah.
And
So,
anyway,
right.
send us that information and we can get started, okay?
Mhm.
So looking for kind of refer outs that we're not able to accommodate.
Yeah. and
Is
how
there any
many-
other information that you think would be
Yeah.
helpful in terms of the number of folks that I would personally love to see highlighted the work that we're able to do with our positive youth development
Right.
with having staff, because one of the things that, we have to talk about is the number of folks served. And if we're running a group, we're serving more kids than necessarily individuals. So what the balance is between positive youth development and making sure we don't lose those programs
Right.
as well.
Yeah, you
Right,
can send us.
as well as the different modalities. It's not all individual, but actually some groups, which we might be able to do with high school students as well as middle school
Middle school.
students.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So send it to us and send us.
I can send you guys some general service numbers, and I can kind of run maybe annual numbers from pre-pandemic to where we are right now, knowing that the numbers are not apples to apples comparisons, because so many things have had to change. And some of those things might change back, but also some of those things won't be changing back.
Mhm.
My assumption is that you've gotten a lot more referrals since the kids have been back in school.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So,
With this past year, I think we've gotten, I mean, even just anecdotally, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but like this past month, we've seen an increase in the number of referrals from the middle school, from elementary schools, and kind of keeping up with who might be able to be the best point of contact, has been a bigger runaround this past month than, back in September or so, I would say.
Mhm.
all right, get us that information, as soon as you can, when we have time to do it, and we'll get together and figure out what to do, okay? We'll write something. How's that sound? Okay. Okay, is there anything else?
I just want to make sure, did y'all officially vote on that motion to create
Oh,
a
no,
work
you're
group?
right. Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All those opposed? It passed unanimously.
Okay.
Okay, so we're all set with that. And thanks for keeping me on track there. Okay.
There, Anne has taught me well.
Yeah. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. But before we do that, I just want to wish everybody a happy and safe holiday. Have a great
to you.
time.
You
Okay,
too.
thank you.
You all as well.
See you all in the new year.
Okay, so we're adjourned because I think somebody made a motion and
Okay, bye.
seconded it. Yeah. So, well, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next month, if not
ya.
before. Okay,
Bye,
Bye,
bye-bye.
everybody.
Ethel. Have a good holiday.
guys.
Bye,
Happy
Larry.
holidays.
Bye, Laura.
Bye-bye now.